Hello, everybody. I am Tangwystle, and I am hosting a special edition of the Creative Writing Meetup. We're doing the Odyssey in Ink project, or a workshop based on the Odyssey in Ink project. I have been writing for about almost 30 years now, and Laurel, who runs the Creative Writing Meetup, has generously allowed me to provide a workshop for you all for the month of August and the first couple of weeks of September, I think. The Creative Writing Meetup group is a group Laurel built to cultivate an environment for writers in virtual reality where they can find a supportive space for their creativity and their work. Her rule of the sandbox is everything is fiction. However, we're not going to be sharing stories today. I'm just doing an Odyssey in Ink workshop with everyone. For 2025, the writing events are me with Odyssey in Ink. September 25th, Laurel is going to be back with something very special and exciting. She has not given me any hints on what that is, but I'm sure it'll be good. October is our scary storytelling event. November, we are doing a virtual reality edition of Rimo. If anyone is familiar with NaNoWriMo, they're going away, and we wanted to keep the spirit of that writing month alive, and Laurel is doing a VR Rimo. December is a holiday storytelling special, and then every Tuesday we're meeting to discuss different things. A little bit about Odyssey in Ink for anyone who missed the first episode. This is a very ambitious project I have initiated this year to do a comprehensive overview of the writing process in today's world for today's writers. It's a little bit of everything, and it's for both beginner writers who are just starting out and don't really know their plot holes from their plot twists, and more experienced writers will also find a lot of beneficial information in the full project once it's complete. The workshop we're doing today, presented by Worldsmyths as well. Worldsmyths is an organization, it's a nonprofit publishing house that I helped start up. We're based out of Canada. We have a very small administrative team, and we focus on maintaining a very diverse group of writers, educating them, providing opportunities for publishing, and we are very much a nonprofit, so not making a profit yet, but hopefully that will change in the coming years. Today's objectives for Odyssey in Ink, we're going to cover very briefly a wide variety of book marketing options, and we're going to take a moment to help you kind of determine what your resources are as think of yourself not just as an author, but as an entrepreneur. And we're going to take the first couple steps to planning your process for building your author brand. And I'm going to be providing you with a handful of resources, just some of the biggest names that are out there. I don't personally endorse any of them, but it's just, you can look at what they're offering, and if you don't like it, you can just do a search, alternatives to whatever the big name is, and you'll find all kinds of resources. So, to start off, time, energy, money. These are the three basic resources for any business or most activities in the world today. And if you don't have a lot of these, it can be very, very hard to market your writing. These days, even if you go a traditional publishing route, big publishing houses offer little to almost no support in marketing for little-known authors. But you do have lots of options to building your brand. Now, I want everyone to take just a moment and think about the resources you have in relation to these three categories. You've likely got a little more of one than you do the other two, but maybe you're like me and you're tight on all three. However, we've all got things that we can kind of shift our priorities around. Just for an example, I've got a couple of Patreon subscriptions to artists that I could cancel to give myself a little more money to work with. And I've also got a bit of a video game hobby where I could spend a little less money and time and energy on that hobby and shift those resources to building my writing career. I do want to just take a moment to go around the room. If anyone has anything they would like to share, something, maybe it's just a morning weekly coffee or something. It doesn't have to be much, but something you could maybe give up, even if only temporarily, and shift those resources towards building your writing career. And you don't have to raise your hand or anything. We've got a pretty small group today. You can just speak up.
Well, I always have a subscription that I could look into to kind of free myself from for a time being.
Yeah, subscriptions are a big one today. Like every service is a subscription now, it seems like. And how much are you really using all of those? You digging into that regularly is a good way to save yourself a little bit of money, just generally speaking.
Mine is probably 1 or 2 meals less of DoorDash.
DoorDash, yeah, that's quite a financial investment. I hear their prices just went up again recently.
Just 1 meal is already $30, you know?
Ouch.
Crazy.
Oh my goodness.
But I've been doing pretty good this week. If I think of my meals ahead of time, then I'm less likely to order DoorDash. But if I don't think about it, and I don't go in the kitchen and get something out, like I have to, like this morning I was in bed and I was like, or last night I was in bed, I went for breakfast tomorrow, and I was like, but how about some grits with egg in the basket and some sausage? That sounds excellent. And guess what? That meant that I did not order breakfast, and then guess what? For lunch I had a chicken wrap that I made in the house, so I didn't order lunch. Now I'm like, dinner. I was like, should I order DoorDash for earlier before I left the house? I was like, I think I'm gonna order DoorDash for dinner. But now that we're talking about this, I might need to go in and whip something up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Meal planning can be a great way to save a little money and time.
And there's a certain satisfaction to it too, to make your own.
I can't see people's names very well, so I apologize. Diana, I think? It looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, just Diane. That was my name.
Diane, okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that about the food. That's something which it's making your own food and planning the meals does make a big financial difference, and it's healthier as well. But
oh yeah,
looking at
absolutely.
Looking at the Venn diagram there, though, that takes away from the time. If you're spending more time cooking, then you've got less time to do
that's
things.
true.
So,
one of the tricks to that, though, is making all your meals for the week in advance, so you're just spending one day on it. That's actually a technique called batching, and we are going to touch on that a little bit later in relation to social media.
But this is one thing that we do with my family with NaNoWriMo, is that because I'm doing a concentrated 2 hours a day, and writing becomes a priority, I get them to do the laundry. They get to cook the food, and they take turns. They take turns doing it and actually have fun with it. I get the most beautiful looking meals, and it's wonderful. I ask for it all year long. I only get it during the writing month of November. But I dream, and if I was if I'm working on a book or I'm working on something that's a priority, you have to have that support. So, you know, these using Uber Eats or whatever the different things are, I don't know because I don't use them, but having a support network that saves you time, money, and energy is really important in my mind.
Absolutely. And Creative Writing Meetup is a wonderful supportive network. Educators in VR, Worldsmyths, where we share cooking tips all the times on Worldsmyths. We've got a couple of foodies. But okay, so we've all got things that if we're willing to shift our priorities a little, you know, we can find we have more resources than maybe we thought we had. Today, we're going to focus mostly on very budget-friendly options that prioritize taking a little time and a little energy. But I do want to remind people just to keep in mind, if you overcommit, you'll burn yourself out and you'll end up just spinning your wheels going absolutely nowhere. So as you go forward with taking notes, making your plan for your author brand, make sure you're periodically checking in with yourself to avoid burnout. Part of our inclusivity element with Worldsmiths is we have a lot of writers who are chronically ill and struggle with the time and energy elements as well as money. So we're always reminding each other, you know, don't burn yourself out because you're not making progress if you're burning yourself out. Let's see. All right, so building your author brand. I've broken things down into what I think are 4 pretty key distinct areas for building your author brand and marketing yourself and your work. Building your website or platform, growing your audience, increasing your book's visibility, and expanding your professional network are not only important, but these are also very interdependent elements. You'll use your platform to connect with and build your audience and share your work. Building your audience outside of your chosen platform will also help grow your platform and increase your book's visibility naturally, and so on and so forth. It's just everything feeds into everything else. So some of the information we'll cover in each section will also be applicable in more than one place. And just as we're going through this, if you miss the name of a website or a service, don't worry. I have them all. I have everything I'm mentioning listed at the end of the presentation today, and I'll put that up last while we're taking Q&A. So let's start by looking at some key platform options for your base of operations online. If you're looking to spend absolutely no money at all, there are tons of social media sites to choose from, as well as a few free website or web host providers. Facebook may be a bit of a dinosaur by the youngest generation standards, but it still has significant reach. There are also newer platforms like Instagram and TikTok, and some sites that are geared towards creators looking to monetize their work like Patreon and Ko-fi. You do not, absolutely not, have to be on all of them, nor do you have to post daily or chase the latest trending keywords to court the algorithm. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. I like to tell people, you know, slow and steady wins the race in the long run. And I feel like that fact still remains very much true online today as it always has offline before the internet. The key really is consistency and finding a place where you are comfortable and interested in being active. If you don't want to do social media, period, you don't have to. At a bare minimum, you should have at least a simple web page where you can post updates like book events and new releases. Wix, Google Sites, and WordPress are just a few providers who offer free starter options, and virtually all website providers, or sometimes they're called domain service providers, can be scalable as you grow your brand and need a little more. You need to be able to support access to a wider audience. However, if having a web page feels like too much work for you right now, just starting out, you can start building your platform from a social media account. I do strongly encourage every professional artisan, not just writers, but also artists, to acquire and maintain a decent website as soon as they are able to, as it will give you more control over how you present yourself and your work than any social media app will. And you won't have to pick up everything and move if something devastating happens to your preferred app. Just as a side note, do always make backup copies of every important graphic or special announcement for your personal records, just in case something does happen on your provider's server. If you don't have backups, you can lose a lot, so backups are very important. If you want to overall minimize your activity online, I would still recommend a mailing list, as that can be very helpful to keeping people updated on your work once you start selling through Amazon or another distributor. But you're going to have a very hard time growing your mailing list if you aren't active elsewhere online. A digital mailing list is also a nice option today, as it's a lot cheaper than a postal mail system, which I do know a couple of people who still do those, and it boggles my mind. But the digital mailing system gives you a way to reach out to your readers directly with something like a periodic newsletter that you can schedule based on your own availability and interest. It doesn't have to be necessarily a work update. It could just be a friendly social newsletter even. As far as mailing lists go, two of the biggest names that offer budget-friendly options are MailChimp and ConvertKit. But there are a lot more out there. And I know I said this earlier, but again, I don't personally recommend any sites or services, generally speaking, just because they change way too quickly. I don't feel comfortable endorsing anyone. So always do a little bit of homework before you commit to any particular site or service. And that is going to be a time investment. That is going to be a little bit of an energy investment. But think of that as an investment in your future success, because that's what it is. At a bare minimum, I do recommend a website with a contact form and a dedicated email address for your writing communications. Just think of it as your business email. Do note that you are likely to get a lot of, sorry?
Yes, I was going to say, do you have any examples of a website that could be used for reference?
I do not have any specific author websites on hand, but I can definitely find you one at the end of the presentation. There are lots of them out there. I think just about any big name author you can think of is going to have their own personal professional website. Obviously, they've got the money to pay someone else to manage and build it, but that can be a good starting example if you want to build your website to kind of look like one of theirs.
Can I add something?
Yes?
Yes, you can just do an internet search for author websites and you'll find plenty of them, and some of them are really, really good. I also have my own.
Yeah.
Which you could also look at that. Just contact me and I'll give you the address for that.
Absolutely. Are you on the Creative Writing Meetup Discord? Would you be able to share it there?
No, I'm not on the Discord, but I guess I could be. So
I highly recommend it. It's a real quiet little server, but Laurel is always posting interesting articles and sources.
Okay. Yeah, I will do that.
Where was I? Spam note. When you're first setting up your email and your contact form, you're probably going to get a whole lot of spam. Some email providers and website hosts offer a variety of options for preventing the spam. This is where that doing your homework kind of comes into play, figuring out who has the best spam blockers. And I always tell people, report the spam, don't just delete it, because reporting it helps improve the spam blockers on the service provider's end. If you're up for more than a bare minimum, I would say aim for a nice custom website, a contact form, and 1 to 5 social media accounts. Your upfront time investment with this step is going to be very significant as far as comparing services and learning the new tools. So if online stuff isn't your thing, don't be afraid to ask for help from someone who's more tech savvy. And if you're considering paying for help, do your due diligence, make sure you're working with someone legitimate and knowledgeable. There are all kinds of resources out there for finding professional help with all kinds of things online now. Personally speaking, one of the best tactics I found for checking someone's knowledge base on a subject that I personally know nothing about is to just ask them to explain what they can do for me in a very technical way, but allow me to ask them to clarify the technical terms as they go. I find this works really well because most experts or even moderately skilled workers can talk about their craft or trade very comfortably in technical terms, and usually they're pretty good at translating those technical terms as well. And based on their translation, that can let you fact check against a dictionary definition, and you'll be able to kind of fact check them as well as expand your own knowledge base. Again, there are lots of free resources out there to help you with setting up however you decide to go. Finding a supportive community can be a great start, but in the end, you are going to have to invest a little time and energy and potentially money to get something going. However, once it's set up, you can look into optimizing things over the long term to reduce your overall time and energy input. Get, more bang for your buck as you get better. On that note, I do want to talk about engaging with your readers and getting some free word of mouth advertising, both online and offline. Because I think people neglect the offline. Authors are a lot more connected to readers today than they ever have been at any point in the past. While you can still go the reclusive author route and avoid reader engagement for the most part if you want to, it will dramatically slow you down. And I've got some tips in this section for maximizing your return on your invested time and energy. We've talked about social media platforms just a little bit, but this is where they really shine through when it comes to connecting with your audience. Whether you're on Discord, Substack, or Reddit, engaging in a more conversational style and hosting a space, or just utilizing the direct messaging feature and the Ask the Author feature on Goodreads, talking directly with fans of your work can make the difference between a casual fan and a diehard advocate that will gladly and freely advertise on your behalf because they just love your work and respect you as a creator. Excuse me. Sites like Canva can help you make visually engaging posts for your social media, and most sites will allow you to schedule your posts in advance so that you can, like we were talking about earlier with cooking, dedicate 1 or 2 days a week to creating a large batch of posts that'll go out either daily or weekly for a significant amount of time. Batching your posts this way and scheduling them saves you time on logging in, which doesn't seem like a whole lot. Login is usually a pretty quick thing, but if you're doing it every day or every week, those little extra minutes can add up quick. And if you don't want to post regularly on a big social media platform, there is another good online option for sharing your work. You can look into joining an online book club or a genre or trope specific group relevant to your work. Worldsmyths, for example, does a lot of fantasy work, but we do have a small share of sci-fi authors in our group. If you go this route, though, remember to treat your group like a community, not a free billboard. Take the time to engage in discussions about work other than your own. You might even find a new book or author that you'll enjoy yourself. A lot of these groups also have rules about dropping in and just blasting a proverbial digital air horn to try and focus attention on your work. That kind of behavior is not generally appreciated in most spaces, though there are a few that are designed as compilations for authors to come in, drop their info, and go, and they're designed for that. So if you really want to minimize your online activity, search for spaces that allow you to come in, drop your info, and go. Again, for example, Worldsmiths has a promo channel where members can promote their writing once a week. But in my experience, the people who get the most attention are those who engage with the community frequently and authentically and are out there helping others brainstorm and edit, or just hanging out sharing tips. And the occasional reminder not to skip meals. We're a little bit bad about that, some of us. Okay, so we talked about online spaces. What about offline? It might seem like an obvious one, but you would be surprised how many authors don't even think about going to their local library or local small bookshop, or even a big chain bookstore like Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. Yes, they do still exist in brick and mortar form. You can inquire about joining an event featuring local authors, or if that's not something they're doing already, you could ask about setting up an event, not just for yourself, but for other local authors as well. Even if you don't have a lot of expertise with organizing large events yourself, you could be the driving force by asking to meet with the person who normally organizes the special events for that location. Or maybe you have a friend or a family member who's good at organizing and could take point on setting up something like a block party for your neighborhood where your book is featured as a raffle prize, or you do a short public reading. The options for offline exposure really are only limited by your imagination and your resources. You can do a whole lot with very little if you get creative. And if you don't want to do big events, if crowds are not your thing, totally understandable. If you want to prefer more one-on-one interactions, you might consider making it a habit to just tell people you're meeting and chatting with that you're an author. Or one person I know has a t-shirt. You could also get a pin and it just says, "Ask me about my book." Most folks are really delighted by the idea of meeting an author, even if you're not a big name author. And even if they're not big readers themselves, they probably know someone who is. On more than one occasion, when asked what I do for a living, I'll tell people I'm an author and I help run a small nonprofit publishing house that helps new writers with becoming published authors. I have yet to get a negative response to this. People are delighted and surprised and very interested and curious. And even people who don't read ask for my contact info, ask for Worldsmyths website info, so they can pass it along to a person in their lives who is a big reader or who is trying to write a book. Wherever you go, online or off, some of the best advice I can give you is to just be authentic and honest and polite. If you're nervous, just say so. It's very relatable. People will appreciate your honesty as much as they'll resent even a hint of disingenuousness. Okay, I've been talking for quite a bit now. Is it still with me? Am I going too fast?
No, it's all good.
No,
yeah,
it's
very good.
very good.
Good. All right.
Keep going.
All right, keep going.
I was going to add to that as well. Local radio station, they seem to do, well, my local radio station feature.
Local radio station is a good one. I did not think of that one, but we are going to touch on public events a little more in book visibility. So you've got your first book, you're ready to publish, or maybe you've recently published. How do you make your book more visible in all the noise online? For free book visibility increase, it's really hard to beat book bloggers with a small audience that are looking to grow. These people are usually very passionate readers, and they're always happy to help small authors reach more people. Do be careful though, this is a very popular cover for scammers who will ask you to pay for them to feature your book. Some larger book bloggers do charge a reasonable feature fee because they have such a large audience, but not all of them. I don't have any specific lists of book bloggers. This is just such a huge field. I don't have anyone specific to mention. But to get the most out of being featured, look for a book blogger who specializes in your genre or subgenre. You can also generate a lot of word-of-mouth advertising, both online and offline, by getting ARC readers lined up a month or two ahead of your release date. These are readers, if you don't know what an ARC is, it's an advanced reader copy, typically provided for free, and the reader will share their thoughts on your book with all their friends, their groups, everywhere. It's basically free advertising. They'll also often be your very first reviewers on sites like Goodreads and Amazon. Since we're mentioning Amazon, I do want to make an important side note here. Amazon has very strict rules around, quote, buying positive reviews, and they do consider a free copy of a book as a kind of payment. So if your ARC readers want to mention they got an ARC edition of the book, make sure they're very clear in their review on Amazon that the book was not given in exchange for a review. The review is entirely voluntary. There are a lot of helpful articles out now that go into more detail on this if you want to look into it. You can also read through Amazon's terms of service, but just be aware if you're having ARC readers post reviews on Amazon, they need to be a little bit careful because your book can get pulled and your author account can even be blocked or temporarily or permanently banned or removed from the site for this if they think you're, quote, buying positive reviews. It's kind of annoying, but they're well-intentioned in their terms of service.
Sorry, could I ask something? If you're submitting a book for the ARC readers and and at this stage, is this when the book is completed, or is it still is this still in edit?
That varies a little bit from author to author. Some authors wait until they've got the final copy, the final proofreading. Some authors don't want to postpone releasing, and they'll provide ARC reader copies that haven't received final proofreading. But generally, when you're sending out ARC copies, the book is basically almost done, if not totally complete.
Okay, and so you have to be careful with copyright and stuff like that when you're sending it out to the readers this way, I presume.
Not usually. That is a rather common fear, is that, well, what if I send out an ARC copy and people just copy my book and then publish it and they get a copyright on it first? I've never actually seen anyone do that, but it's one of those paranoid fears that new authors sometimes have. Excuse me just a moment. Ooh, needed a little water. Generally speaking, though,
isn't there an old-fashioned way of mailing yourself a copy with an unregistered mail, and then you have a proof of ownership of it without needing to copyright the first thing? It's old-fashioned, but I think it's still.
Can I address that?
Certified mail is an option, yeah.
Yeah.
You could also get a publicly notarized copy that has a date and official notary recognition for it. But generally speaking, this is just one of those fears that I've never seen actually come to fruition.
Thank you.
I can say some more if you like. And
Go
that's
ahead.
that, if you want to get monetary funds back from suing somebody over copyright, you have to be registered with the Copyright Office. Otherwise, you can possibly stop someone from publishing your book any further, but you can't get any money back from it.
One option you could do is apply for your ISBN number, which is not technically a copyright, but it is part of the copyright process for novels. I didn't really prepare sources on this subject for today, I'm sorry. But if you're concerned about copyright infringement prior to publishing from ARC readers, what I would suggest is just making sure you've got your copyright, you've got your ISBN lined up before you send out your ARC reader copies.
if I could just add, you don't have to do that. It's a good thing to do, but just save a backup, or it's you, again, you can email yourself, that's fine. There's a lot of tricks you can do, but you don't have to do any of them. Just know that by simply writing your work and having it be in a Word document that's saved, that has been considered by the courts a fixed copy. I do recommend that you work with version control, which means you save the date, or you save whatever, so you have multiple versions. But this is in today's digital world, this is not a big as worry as it used to be, as long as you're really good about saving and backing up.
Yeah, having a dated saved copy is substantial proof of development and ownership if it does come to a court case. Thank you, Laurel. Okay. Let's see, where am I? Connecting with readers through our copies. Circling back to that, because everything, like I said, is very interrelated. Any book groups you found when you were working on growing your audience, you probably met potential readers.
So while we're waiting for her to get some oxygen back in, many of you have experience, are familiar, you're readers. You know how the reading things work, you know how things, and how do you find your books? Do you just like go on to Amazon or walk into a bookstore, what's the most popular, and then get it? No, word of mouth is really important, and things like Goodreads, and there's a lot of other sources, are really, really important to, help with marketing these things and understanding them and increasing that visibility. Getting the advanced readers, getting the reviewers and things like that, that's really, really important. But make sure they're not friends and relatives because people know the difference. You want to try to get as many people as possible, but don't beg for them and don't freak out about it, because it's all good. It's all good, and it happens. And be aware that it takes time. It just takes time.
Yes.
Be patient. There are people who published even today that are dead and have been dead for 10 and 20 years, and their book is suddenly a hit. Make sure you have estate plans in place for your copyrights and ownerships.
Yes.
But yeah. Are you feeling better?
Yes. Okay.
All right.
I'm good.
There
And you touched on a good point there, because I was gonna say next, just circling back to what we were talking about earlier with connecting with your readers. Any book groups you found and met potential readers through will also probably be great places to share your upcoming release information, provided they allow that. Again, just a reminder, the key here is to share your enthusiasm, not just be like, hey, look at me, buy my book. Nobody likes that. But showing up, supporting other people as they release their work as well, they're going to come back and support you when you release your work. There's that mutual benefit thing. You can also support and be supported by authors by reaching out to them directly through their platforms online, their websites, their social media, or through a mutual group to propose a promotional swap. What you'll do is you'll promote their work on your website and social media platforms, and they'll do the same for you in exchange. This is 100% free advertising. It's a really great way to grow your audience, because if you find somebody who's writing similar things, chances are you guys don't have the same audience already, because you're both small. And while it is nice to get a swap with someone who has a larger audience than you, don't underestimate the power of doing multiple swaps with audiences who have smaller audiences than you. You're probably not going to have all the exact same followers unless you're in a super, super niche category, and even then, you're still going to pick up a few new people. Doing trades like this can also be a great way to start expanding your professional network. There are also free promotional opportunities by creating an account with websites like Goodreads and BookBub and similar book compilation sites. There are also some sites that aren't free but are super useful, like BookFunnel, and they have some very affordable options. In the case of BookFunnel, which is a great way to distribute your digital copies to your ARC readers, their first-time author package is only $20 USD annually. That's a great deal. You get, like, I think 500 copies, 500 digital downloads that you can release per month. So that's going to be way more than almost any new author is going to need. And you can also distribute these digital copies not just to ARC readers, but at like conferences or book shows, which can also be great venues if you have a little money to spare to set up a table. Renting a table it can be reasonably affordable for a small local event, or it can be extremely exorbitant, but it is a great way to get your book out into the physical world if you want to focus on offline marketing. The upfront investment is very significant. You'll need a table, as this aren't always provided. You'll need physical copies of your book through a printer like Ingram Spark. Bookmarks or business cards people can take with them are also a very good investment, and a table banner if you really want to look good and stand out. The event itself doesn't necessarily have to be book related either. My friend Allie had excellent sales her first time renting a table at a local Ren fair. If you're doing historical fiction, you could look for a local historical reenactors event or group. Sci-fi, check if your local Ren fair has a day for a sci-fi cosplayer crowd to come out as Klingons and Jedi and Doctor Who time travelers. A lot of these events do have those sorts of things. So you might find an unexpected audience where you wouldn't initially naturally think to look for one. Comic book conventions can also be a great option to look at. Although the big ones can be very expensive in terms of time, energy, and money, you could start a small local Comic Con at a local comic book store or even a local tabletop gaming store. These businesses are kind of struggling, and they're starting to diversify and blend a little bit more as they try to stay open. So having a local author come in and inquire about joining an event or helping set up a special event to draw attention to the shop could be a very welcome surprise for the owners and employees of the shop. Somebody mentioned local radio stations, also a great opportunity. When the news cycle is slow or they just need a good little piece to fill in time, having a local author come in and do a 5-minute interview on a new book they're releasing can be really nice for a small local station. And that's not just radio, that could be a local television station also. Okay, we've talked a lot about going out both digitally and physically and interacting with a lot of new people. But before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to talk about networking specifically within your current network and how that can be useful. So your current network is your friends, your family, if you have a job, your coworkers. We all have people who are a part of our lives. If they don't already know you're an author, what are you doing? Tell them. If they do know, ask them to sit down with you sometime and help you brainstorm on how you can build your writing career. Maybe they'll have ideas that I haven't mentioned here. Chances are, even if you have known them very well your whole life, they can probably surprise you with personal contacts or good advice to help you boost your career. If nothing else, they probably have social media of their own or are part of groups where they'd be happy to share information about your work on your behalf. It doesn't hurt to ask, usually. Sometimes it does. I have been there. I trust you to know the difference when dealing with people in your own lives. Money can be a touchy subject among family, but you might find someone surprises you with a small loan or is willing to help you set up some crowdfunding to help boost your financial resources. And, you know, if someone does go above and beyond in their support of your work, you You could always throw them a little thank you in your book. People will surprise you. I think that's important to remember. So that's my very, very short section on being aware of the people in your life. All right, there's the resource list. We are open to questions. Any questions? Did I really do that good a job? Nobody has any questions at all?
This is a lot of it's a lot of
It's a
information.
lot
You have
of
to give us a
information.
minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
but you have to give us a minute to unmute. Yeah. But
put it all in.
so this is a huge resource. Are these genre based or are these just general based?
These are mostly websites and service providers on this resource list. So Patreon, for example, is a website where you can create a custom space and provide text or posts, and people can subscribe to your Patreon account either for free or for a small monthly fee, and it's just a way for fans to support artists. Ko-fi is a similar kind of setup. Discord, Facebook, Substack, Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, these are all more social networking sites. Goodreads and BookBub are very book-specific sites where you can create a free account, a free author account, I think is what they usually call it. WordPress, Wix, and Google sites are website server hosts, so they'll let you set up your own personal website. I think these three specifically have free website options. MailChimp and Convert are mailing lists. Go ahead.
I was just going to add, WordPress also has the ability to create newsletters. So, and the newsletters are designed to take your posts and send them out on a regular basis. So it takes away that extra having to go to MailChimp or something like that. It can also service that for notifications and in a variety of different ways.
I did not know that. I did not dig very deeply into any of these sites, really.
Yeah, the same thing is true for Substack as well.
Yeah, and yeah, Substack as well as is its own newsletter thing and email notifications. We're going to be talking more about have an author website coming up in a couple months and diving into it. So just letting people know. Yeah, we'll be doing some fun stuff with that, and also social media, so that we're concentrating. You'll be a part of that. Don't worry. All right,
I'm
keep
excited.
going. These are beautiful. Yeah, anytime, and part of talking about social media and the website thing is about, honest to God, this is the truth. And when the first thing that Tang brought up was time, money, and energy. It's also, besides food and whatnot, it's about saving it. So we can put all of that into our writing. Anything like WordPress or Substack or whatever that saves us time and stops us from doing redundant things, I'm in love with. I'm in love with. Just automate my life so that I can get back. That's what I want AI to do. Do all the rest of this stuff for me so I can just write.
The need to automate is spawning new resources every day.
Oh,
because so many people are tired of doing the same thing over and over. And that really is what a lot of people want AI to do, is just do the boring stuff that I don't want to do and do it for me properly and don't mess it up.
Right.
And isn't that doing the same thing over and over again one of the signs of insanity? Oops. Okay.
Exactly.
Something different. Yeah.
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that some of the services, I think you said WordPress and Ingram Spark, actually print physical copies of a book. If you were to be going to, for example, festivals or going somewhere and you had a table and you were selling the book, how many would you start off with a new book? How many would you ask to be printed? And how do you go about pricing and all that?
That's going to depend on a lot of different factors. How much money you have, how much storage space you have, how big your book is. 'Cause I want to say Ingram Sparks like basic print box is either 20 to 30 copies, something like that. And I got one of those boxes years ago for the very first Worldsmyths book, and I still have 5 or 6 copies floating around my house.
Is
And
that expensive?
WordPress does not make books. It's a website.
Yeah.
And host. It's a
I
website host
kinda-
and domain host.
I mixed everything together. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that.
You can print books via Barnes and Nobles as well. They have a print service that's actually pretty good, and it's lots of customization on there. And
Amazon also has a print to order service. Print to order
Yes.
is kind of a weirdly a growing field, I think.
Mhm.
Like there are more online retailers that are trying to get into the print to order business.
Some
you
of the
get it
ones that
cheaper.
are more has more experience in it is like lulu.com, lulu.com.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not specifically recommending any of these services except Discord. I love Discord. I will recommend Discord.
I have a
there
friend
are
that
so many options out there for all of these things. Go ahead.
I have a friend that they printed out like a coloring book on Amazon. And so what they found was, like, for example, like on Amazon, if one of us was to buy the book on Amazon, it was like $12. But if they bought the book, it was like $3. So they would buy multiple copies on Amazon, and then they would sell it for the price that they wanted to price it for. But then I think also another good option is like, having like a mailing list or some sort of sign up thing where you could let people know, hey, if you put down, $5 or whatever, before the release of my book, you get a discount, right? And obviously you factor that in.
Pre-orders, yeah.
Yeah, pre-orders, exactly. But you give them an incentive, like something like, oh, it's a signed copy, or it's, it's a limited edition batch in this style, something like that.
Yeah, good thoughts. Yes.
Customized for you. It's got your
Um,
name in it, something like that,
Yeah.
Special edition cover art seems to be kind of a little bit of a thing that's cropping up here and there, where people are putting out like 5, 6, 10 different styles of cover art for the same book sometimes. It just kind of blows my mind, but I also kind of love it.
Especially now that it can be generated in so many different styles, it's easier to
Yeah.
do. So,
But yeah, so there's a lot of options out there. This was just kind of a crash course overview in all the different ways that you can build your author platform.
Yeah, it's opened my eyes. Thank you.
and got our feet wet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole vibe for Odyssey in Ink. There's not a lot of depth to well, I don't want to say that because we did dig pretty deep into a lot of things, but like it's like a 101 course. It's getting your feet wet. It's giving you a solid foundation. That's kind of one of my goals with Odyssey in Ink, is to provide this very solid, very comprehensive foundation. If that makes sense.
I really admire the logo you've picked too.
Do you like the logo?
Yeah.
And the recording is going to be available like on the Discord or something. The recording is going to be.
It will be on our YouTube, and we will share the link on our Discord as soon as we do it. Dorian, did you have something you wanted to add before we wrap this up?
The only thing I'd like to add is that I learned about book bloggers. I wasn't aware of them. Most of the stuff I unfortunately I already know. The book bloggers, I'm going to have to dig into that and find out more information. So thank you for that.
Now, My slideshow seems to have crashed. Oh well.
There it goes.
That's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. Do you want to bring it back up?
No,
Close it out?
we're 5
Nope.
minutes over. We're done.
Okay. All right. So this is Lorella. This is the founder, and I'm the co-founder and director of Educators in VR and the founder of the Creative Writing Meetup, because I didn't introduce myself on the video earlier. Tangwystle, I want to thank you so much for doing this. We have more. What's coming up next week?
Next week is. Oh, I thought I had it noted somewhere.
Well, you had it in our educators, on our creative writing Discord someplace you would list it, but I wasn't sure it was
I
an
did.
actual schedule. The query letter guide is
Let me
what
go
was
look at that.
query letters. And also coming up, which we have on the list that are from our suggestions, is organizational strategies for multiple projects. So, and especially, how do you come back when you've taken a break from a project? That's so important, because we do. Life happens, It's just like Forrest Gump. It just happens, and we often have to step away and come back. How do you regroup that, as well as how do you manage? I have a professional writer friend of mine who's published over 100 books, and he works on 4 at a time. What the heck? I don't know what's going on with him. It's just like, really? So also keeping your reader reading. That's really important. How do you get those cliffhangers in there, those page-turning events? How do you keep the drama going? And that also leans into editing. How do you edit for that? That's part of the craft of writing, which then leads to finding a good professional editor, and what are the different types of editing that your book needs. And trust me, editing makes all the difference in the world. You don't want to hear my story. Anyway, self-publish, then one of the last ones is really looking at self-publishing versus traditional publishing versus hybrid, and really finding what works best for you. And there's a lot of psychology, a lot of ego that goes into making that decision, as well as financial time, money, and energy. Like she said, all boils down into it. So that's going to be fascinating. All right, so next week is?
Query letter guide. Yes.
No.
Yeah, nobody ended up voting on anything they wanted particularly first, so we're just going down the list.
Okay, and I hope also it's not just how to write a query letter, but how to handle the rejections and understand the difference in form rejections and personal rejections. And it's really fascinating. A friend of mine many years ago, I got excited when she got a rejection. and there was she had a whole story in her head. It's like, okay, that's really interesting. So it's, writing is psychological. Study the brain, study, all the neuroscience, because everything we do is psychological. All of our characters, about the psychology of our characters and their environment, and the job itself is that's the psych trip, isn't it? So, all right. Thank you again to Tangwystle, and we'll be back next Tuesday, 1 hour earlier than right now, with fewer technical difficulties, and we'll be ready to rock with you. All right. Thanks, Tang.
Thank you,
Thank
Tang.
you.
Thank you.
See you next week.